Hello, welcome back to this crazy series on using Visio, which is no doubt very non-traditional in approach. This is going to be a short lesson or chat. I want to talk about extending Visio and why Visio may not be enough, how to use the macro recorder and Visual Basic for application VBA code, kind of the motivations for creating support tools Visio, and just real briefly installing support tools Visio. So as you know, Visio ships with a whole bunch of stencils that contain shapes, and on my machine I've got a whole bunch of additional ones installed, but we've already kind of covered that. In the general category, you've got basic shapes that you can use, and so you very quickly can draw squares and right triangles and all that kind of stuff, and you've seen some examples where you can create your own shapes which have data associated with them, and we'll be covering more about this. And you can right click and they've got some behavior associated with them. So that's really what we're going to cover in lesson 6. But as a bridge to that, I want to talk about kind of what led me to create my own shapes and what led me to create support tools Visio. And it's really a story of a long ago time when I was using Excel. And as you probably know in Excel, and we'll just fire up Excel here. Wait a minute, I thought this was a course on Visio. Yep, I know. So we'll open up Excel and create a blank workbook. And as you probably know, if you go to the ribbon and customize it, pause, my oatmeal is ready, be right back. Okay, where were we? I've received my oatmeal, or got my oatmeal, and it's cooling over here on the side, so we'll let that cool down and we'll get back to our story. So as you probably know, you can go to the ribbon in Excel and customize the ribbon. And if you turn on the developer tab, which I've got turned on here, you can go to the developer tab and you can record a macro. And we'll just say macro 1, this workbook, or actually let's give it a name. Create worksheets and save workbook. So let's say we want to automate the creation of some worksheets and saving of the workbook. So we go down to here, we create some pages, and maybe we rename this one fruits, cars, toys, whatever. And then we go File, Save, My New Workbook. We save it. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Well, that's okay. So we've saved the workbook, but without having macros in it. That's what that was about. But if we stop recording and go to Visual Basic, and I have a sinking feeling that this may not work, and drag the window that opened up, and Excel created a new module in our Excel workbook called Module 1. And if we click on Module 1, it recorded this macro for us, which we gave a name. Otherwise, it would have said Macro 1. And these are the things that you can do in code to reproduce what we just said. So sheets add after the active sheet. So that was me clicking on the plus sign. And then we selected the sheet and we renamed it. So if you wanted to automate this, you could, maybe edit this code and parameterize it and do some other things. But you can repeat an operation. And so the whole idea is when you have to do something again and again and again, you get to the point of, oh my gosh, this is not fun. Let me go learn how to automate it away, maybe put it behind a button, which is maybe just a brief story from my past. When I was growing up, I was a teenager, and my family lived next to somebody who was retired, and this gentleman was he owned his own business, and he was a tool and die maker. And so when I got to know this man, he would have been 40 or 50 years older than I was, but he was a really interesting guy. His company would make tools that other people would use to make things. And so that was the tool maker. And then a die is a device that will maybe create something that cuts threads into a rod, and so that's the way you can make screws. So he kind of introduced me to the idea of you make tools that make your jobs easier, and then you make tools that make it easier to make tools. And so that got me into VBA programming and code behind and starting in Excel. And then I took that notion and decided I preferred, years and years later, I preferred to write in C#. So I learned how to do code add-ins. But that same notion of just trying to automate something that you could otherwise do through the user interface is what led me to learn Visual Basic for applications, learn how to automate some of the Office applications. And the reason for sharing that with you is not all Office applications have macro recorders anymore. I think they all used to. But the good news is Visio does. So if we go to the developer ribbon and we click on record, and we'll just call this first Visio macro, and we'll click OK. And we'll do the same thing. We'll go down and create a new page. We'll rename the page. New page, and we'll go over to general basic shape. So I guess we already had that open. Oh, where'd it go? There we go. And we go drag a rectangle on. Hello world. We type some text in, and I actually have no idea what this macro is going to have in it, but the whole point is that you can record what you do in Visio. So we'll go to Visual Basic, and we'll open up modules, and we go new macros. Oh my goodness gracious. There's a whole lot of stuff here. Well, let's take a look at this. Ooh. Let's take a look at what we have here. It was something about diagram services. Let's just ignore that for now. And undo scopes. That sounds like if you make a mistake, how do you undo it? So that sounds like something interesting to know in the future. But here, okay. Dim Visio pages, Visio page, active document, pages add. Oh, this must be how we add a page. And then this is where it looks like it sets something about the page. Wow, we're going to have to learn about that. Now, this must be where we rename the page. Oh, this looks like it's opening up a stencil. We learned about that in a previous lesson. We activated a document. We used something here, rectangle. Oh my gosh, well, this must be what you have to do to accomplish what we just did, which is create a new page, rename it, drag a shape on, and put, I'm not sure I actually hit return, but put hello world in it. So same story. First I tried doing this in Visual Basic, and then I moved it into code behind. So that was really the genesis of wanting to create support tools Visio, and starting with my desire to be lazy, which is learn how to automate things, and then start with the macro recorder, and then create a code behind file called support tool Visio. And as I think we've seen through some of the other lessons, Support Tools Visio shows up as a new tab on the ribbon, and it's actually grown to where it has 3 different tabs, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. We're not going to cover it at all in this lesson. All I want to do is cover how you install Support Tools Visio. And perhaps one of the most important things is if you come over here to the right side and you click on add-in info, this message box pops up and it tells me that I'm using apparently version 2020-06-18A. So if you send me a message and say, hey, something doesn't work, good luck getting support, but I'd like to know what version you're running. So this is the version I'm running, and I'm pretty good about when I change things, updating the version, which is basically the date So let's talk about installing Support Tools Visio, and then we'll get on to what we really want to do, which is Lesson 6, learn about how to create your own custom shapes. Okay, so I've opened up our team site, R&D Ops Jedi Order, and I've gone to Support Tools, and there's 2 folders there, one for Excel and one for Visio. If you download this zip file and put it somewhere on your machine, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to download mine to a location on my C drive, and you can put it anywhere you want. I'm going to put it, and just kind of ignore where I'm going here, because the only thing you really have to do is put it somewhere. So I by convention, put it in a place that I can get to from any machine I'm on. But when you unzip the contents, you should be getting everything you see here. And then what you do is you run this setup program. And when you run the setup program, it's going to ask you if you want to install this customization. And the fact that it says publisher cannot be verified, this is because I don't have my own certificate. I sign it with a private key. So if you trust me, don't worry about that. You click install. And it should come back and say, there was an error during installation. And the reason there was an error is because, well, I'm actually not quite sure why there was an error, but you should not have a problem if you use the one from the team site. It has to do with the fact that I'm developing on this machine too, and I'm pretty sure that several of you have successfully installed from this Support Tools Visio. So that's really all you need to do to install. You just download the file, unzip it to some location on your machine. Don't forget to right-click and unprotect it. Install it, and then when the installation is complete, as I said, you should have 3 new tabs on your ribbon: Support Tools, UI Launch Approaches, and Shapesheet. Don't worry about what they all do. And then if you click on Add-in Info, you can tell me what version you're running. I'm not positive on Mac. Anyway, you should be able to reliably tell me the version you're running by reading information off of this. So that's really all you need to do. This was just a quick thing to introduce why is Visio not enough. You want to automate some things using VBA in the macro recorder, installing Support Tools Visio. So the real interesting things are going to happen in Lesson 6, which is when we start actually creating our own shapes. And some of that will involve, most of that will involve just using Visio directly. You will not need the macro recorder nor Support Tools Visio, but I'll probably refer to it from time to time. So that's why I wanted to do this lesson. Look forward to seeing you soon. Off to eat my oatmeal.